I'll just preface this with I am no Swahili expert. Again, I only spoke it primarily during the first of my mission. And so I feel comfortable. I can understand probably 70% of what's said to me, but I struggle responding. And my accent, I know, isn't that great. Okay, so the church's name, for example, is Kanisa la Yesu Cristo la Watakatifu wa Siku za Mwisho. People say that it sounds a lot like maybe a Hawaiian language because there's a lot of vowels in the language. The typical greetings, they don't have a hello, except for if they're greeting you and they think that you're a tourist and they've come up with like a touristy hello. It's Jambo. And the correct response is to say si Jambo, which kind of denotes that you're actually literally saying not Jambo. But that lets them know that you actually speak Swahili, but typically to tourists you say Jambo, they say Jambo back, and then they kind of know, oh, they don't know Swahili. But when you say si Jambo back, it means not Jambo, and then they know that you know Swahili. The correct, or the way that you're supposed to, or the way that Tanzanians or Kenyans greet each other is habari yako, which means like the news of you. Habari means news, and they say of you. Or habari zenu, or various other things. And then that just means like, how are you? And then you can respond any way you want. Nzuri means good. Mbaya means bad. There's various other things. You can say mzuri. Typically women will say that. It means beautiful. So like depending on whatever you want to say back, I would sometimes say mzuri to like joke around, but it's usually more of a womanly response to that question. Also, you have different greetings according, just like we do in English, according to the ages of people that you are associating with. Habari is just like a typical, you can't go wrong, it's respectful, but it's also not like, hello, sir, it's just kind of like a greeting to everybody. But if you like are greeting someone that's like your same age or like young children, you can say like Mambo VP, which is, it doesn't translate to like what's up, but it's kind of like more casual. It's what you would say to someone young or like your same age. And you can be like Poa, Shwanga, Shwanga. There's tons of different slang responses that you can respond. But like the traditional greeting for like an older person or like a village elder or other things, say shikamo. And then they will respond marahaba, which means come up. So you're kind of saying I'm beneath you, and then they say come up. So it's, you'll get to know the greetings as you're there, but those are kind of the three major. You go Mambo VP or Mambo to people that are your age or younger, and then like a Bariako to like maybe someone that's like 30 or 40 or like someone that's not way older than you. But then if you're trying to show respect, you say shikamo. And you also greet people that if you're trying to respect with two hands. So you do one hand that you shake with, and then the other hand you place on your wrist, and that's just a traditional thing of. I sometimes do it out of habit today. It's just to show that, hey, I care enough about this that I'm putting all my attention or both hands into this. So you also like kind of bow. So that's just some like traditional things that you'll see, and they also will pass the sacrament typically that way as well to show respect. But yeah, those are some of the greetings. Some other things that you can say are just like Nabi means prophet, and then like I don't know, I could give you like a brief testimony or like key things that you can say as far as bearing your testimony. So Joseph Smith is just Joseph Smith. You can put like a Swahili accent on it if you want, Joseph Smith, but like it doesn't really matter. They'll understand if you say Joseph Smith. And then if you want to be like I know, in Tanzania you'll say nafahamu. So like if you want to say I know that the Book of Mormon is true, you could say nafahamu kanisa kitabu cha Mormoni ni kweli. If you want to say I know that Joseph Smith is a prophet of God, you can say nafahamu Joseph Smith ni nabii kwa Mungu, and various other things like that. But the word for I know is different in Tanzania than it is in Kenya. So nafahamu is for Tanzania, and is considered like the deep or true Swahili. And then Najua is the word for I know in Kenya, and it's considered, the Tanzanians call it dirty Swahili, where it's just not as clean or proper, but it's just the way that they speak. So Kenyans are kind of known for speaking Shang, which is like a combination of their tribal language, English and Swahili. And then in Tanzania, they speak their Kiswahili Sanifu, which is like the deep, pure Swahili. So it just kind of depends on where you're living. Some of the words will change because of the tribe that you're serving around. They'll throw in a lot of their tribal words from like Kikuyu or various other things, and so you'll hear a lot of that. But then if you go somewhere else, they'll be like, why are you speaking like a Kikuyu or a Luya? And it's because you're mixing in some of their tribal words that aren't Swahili, but you thought they were because you didn't know any better. So, but yeah, that's some, I guess, a brief overview for Swahili. It's a pretty fluid language. If you're ever in doubt of a word, you can usually just say an English word in there, and most people will be able to pick up on it or understand what you're saying. They're extremely kind if you're willing to speak their language. Like, I've heard stories of like missionaries serving in France or other things, unless you speak like correctly and your accent is good, people will kind of judge you. Kenyans and Tanzanians, if you try and you're speaking horribly and broken, they just are very appreciative that you're showing the respect of trying to learn their language and not trying to make them learn yours. So even like a typical greeting, even when you're first learning Swahili, is just to greet them in Swahili, say, I'm sorry, I don't know much Swahili, or my Swahili is bad. Do you know English? And then if they do know English, they'll be like, oh, he tried to speak my language. And then they'll be like, oh yeah. But if you just go straight up to them like, do you speak English? A lot of them will say no, because they don't think that you're worth talking to if you don't, at least, you're living in their country. You should at least learn the greetings and how to say a few things in it. And then they'll switch over if you need help.